Welcome to Campus Connection, a podcast dedicated to connecting with one another. We will highlight MCC's staff, students, alumni, and other guests and talk about our professional and life experiences. You can find us on Spotify and YouTube, and you may contact us by writing in the comments section or writing to us at podcast@mcccollege.edu. We would love to hear your positive feedback and your thoughts on any future topics you would like to hear. I am your host, Giovanni Mayorga, and we are recording from the beautiful 203 North LaSalle campus in downtown Chicago on the 14th floor with a great view of the east side skyline. Our podcast will focus on Midwestern Career College and who comprises this academic institution as individuals and professionals. Our guests will be MCC staff, faculty, and we will also invite people who help MCC function on a daily basis. One of the focuses of this podcast is to get to know each other and to acknowledge our individual achievements. And in doing that, I'd like to acknowledge all the hard work and dedication of my friends and colleagues here at MCC, those that are here and those that have moved on to pursue other opportunities. I am fortunate to be in my fifth academic institution and have the experience to know that there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes on a daily basis that goes unnoticed as we provide a service to you. I'd like to recognize the hard work that each and every one of the staff and administrators do on a daily basis to provide a service to our students and alumni. Likewise, our education in general wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the dedicated work of our educators. Please take time to thank not only our wonderful educators, but all educators, as being an educator is a calling and the reason why we say we have an academic education. As a former certified teacher, I know firsthand how difficult of a job it is. I have a couple of family members in the elementary school systems and can say with confidence that educators are dedicated, passionate, and great people. With that, let me bring in my first guest for today, Jessica Karim. So Jessica, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. Thank you. How are you?
Wonderful. It's been a long day, but happy that we can actually sit down and have a conversation about who you are and what you do and what you've done. So welcome. Looking forward to speaking with you today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about what you do currently, because you're in MCC staff member and a student. So tell me about what you do here at MCC.
So right now I'm working in the in the international department as a social media creator, and I creating videos with my coworkers, and we always try to get the students everything to know about Chicago, and of course about MCC, and also for students who still living abroad and thinking about studying in the United States, learning English, get some next career steps and goals, and we creating content for it to see how it is as a student, as an international student, to living in Chicago.
Nice. Sounds wonderful. Now you're studying, what is it that you're studying here?
I'm right now in the business program. I made all of the ESL programs when I came here to learn the language. And now I'm in the association program to start working when I finished.
So you made the decision to come not only to Midwestern Career College, but to Chicago.
Yes.
Now, where is it that you're from?
I'm from Germany.
And where exactly in Germany are you from?
I'm from a little town, but before I moved to the United States, I lived in Berlin for a couple of years and Frankfurt. And yeah, before I came, I lived in Berlin, my definitely favorite city in Germany.
So you grew up in Germany?
Yes, I did.
How was that? How do you remember that as a memory?
Oh, it's totally different than here, I would say. But I think for me it's great. I mean, when you're a child, you not recognize for this is your world. And I like to live in Germany. And when you grow up there, you learn a lot about discipline a lot about really good. We have a great education system in Germany, and when you're a good student, you can have a good education in the university. So it was really good. And also, I have to mention, because I'm from Germany and I studied there before, it's a nice, if you have a diploma from there, you can work all over the world. So this is great.
Yeah. I was born here in Chicago, but I was actually raised outside of the U.S. I was raised in Guatemala City in Central America, and seeing how, because I have 2 kids, seeing how my kids or the youth here in the U.S. are growing up today and how I grew up is completely different, right? I used to play in the streets. If you see some of those documentaries of kids playing, soccer, how we call it football, in our countries, that's how I grew up. I grew up playing in the streets, playing soccer. It was a completely different time than what it is now. I actually also studied for three years in Guatemala, and the school system is actually very different than what it is here in the U.S. How was your experience going to school in Germany and now being a student here in the U.S.?
For me, it is totally different in Germany, especially when you are in the university. You have to do everything on your own, because studying in Germany, it's not asking your teacher. Of course, for important things when you make your master thesis and so on. But in general, you are on your own, because they want to see how you work by yourself and how you research in scientific questions. So this is totally different. Of course, the teacher is also helpful and the professors, but it's different because you're on your own, and for them it's really important, because this is the thing that you, in the end of the day, get jobs with more salary, because they know you can work independently and in a team for sure. But when you're doing research in a university, it's my experience here is kind of different, but I'm thankful that I have this kind of both experience, because you hear a lot the people talking, it's like this to live in this country or this, but in the end, just the experience, just when you live the life in another country, then you know how it really works.
And after you finished your studies, what are your degrees in?
I have a bachelor in journalism, and I have a master degree in media science, so like a media creator. I choose this topic because I think you can work all over the world with this kind of knowledge, and also for companies. Before I moved here, I worked for a company and made, not as a journalist, I worked in a PR. So I create the website, and a lot of, so everything what goes with what they want to know from the company. And I started actually there to also work with English-speaking co-workers, and that helps me, because in the beginning I was really nervous to speak another language, especially on the phone. It was kind of weird, but it helps me when I came here.
So you started communicating in English with clients in the U.S., is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and then how did you make the decision to say, okay, I've been communicating in English, I have a life in Germany, but I want to make a transition to the U.S. How was that decision?
For me, actually, it was a decision long time ago, because when I came the first time to the US, it's more than 10 years ago, just as a vacation, I decided to want to live here, to live in another country, to get another experience. Even when it's great to live in Germany, and you can have a good job, great economy. I want to live in a different country, and I decided the United States. It's just something from my feelings. When I came here, I said, I want to try to live here.
And what city did you visit when you came here?
The first, I was in New York City, and I really loved it. And when I made the decision to come here, I was looking for which city would be great. And I also saw a lot about Chicago. I read a lot about Chicago. And when I came here, it was when I moved here. I never went here before. It was the day when I moved here. I also felt in love with Chicago because the river, the lake, it's just amazing. Just the vibe here, it's great. So I decided to stay in Chicago.
Yeah, and now you work right by the river and right by the lake, downtown Chicago.
Yes.
It's a very interesting story. I mean, I was born here, and outside of the time that I grew up outside of the U.S., I've lived in Chicago all my life. Well, I have lived in other states, Indiana, Colorado, and I visited many other cities and states as well. But I remember the time I visited, I did visit New York in my teenage years. We have family and we have family friends over there. So I've been to New York a few times now. And New York is a great city. Okay, very diverse, huge, lots of entertainment. You can find everything and anything in New York. But I will say that I will always choose Chicago, even though I've had the opportunity to live in Colorado and Colorado Springs. Loved absolutely the outdoors and the mountains. I always miss Chicago, and Chicago is always going to be home. And it's always interesting to hear somebody else's point of view. New York is great, and just like Chicago is great, and Chicago has its negative portion, of what goes on in Chicago. So does New York. Nevertheless, I think I will still choose Chicago over New York. A few years ago, I thought about actually moving to New York if I were able to find a job, and it didn't work out. So maybe in the end, I think I'm much happier here in Chicago. So now you've been in Chicago for how long?
4 years exactly.
4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And how has that experience been?
Oh, great. So I never regret to come to Chicago. Like I said before, it was when I moved here. It was the moment when I moved here that I came here, because I know a lot of people, they visit before, have some vacation before they move to another city. But I just did it. And for me, until now, it's a great experience. So I met a lot of people from all over the world. Of course, the big impact is that I start studying at MCC and learn the language, and so you meet a lot of people from around the world. And I learned English, and I also think that the people in Chicago have more, they give you a little bit more time when you start learning the language. It's usually in the United States, it's like they are really open, and even when you talk totally wrong because you learn, they are welcome you with open arms. So this is what I think it was my experience.
So you came to Midwestern Career College as an international student to study English as a second language. How was that experience, and how would you describe that experience to someone? Because you do a lot of that right now in social media, trying to captivate for someone what that experience is like, what our experience is like. How would you describe that experience to someone who's potentially thinking about moving to Chicago in general or coming to MCC?
So I always would recommend it, and I'm not saying it because I did it by myself. It's just I have the experience with MCC when I came because I started learning English. I had a little bit, I mean, we learn some English in Germany, but it's different. When you live in the United States or you live in the country with another language, you start learning when you move there. This is the moment when you start. And my teachers always were really supportive, even when you say something wrong, because in the beginning, I remember I was like, oh my God, I cannot understand them maybe, or hopefully I will understand. But they are so supportive. And even outside of the classroom, if you have some questions, they are really supportive and engage you and encourage you to keep learning. And this is what I tell the students now, because some also are shy for sure when they learn a new language or they're thinking of making mistakes. And I said, it's a process. You have to make mistakes. The thing is, you have to practice all the time. You're not only in school. In school, you get the basic, you get an international community environment where you belong to because you're an international student. And you should use it. You should not just stay with the people who speak your native language, because this is not the way how you learn. You learn when you be with your international friends, when you go to the museum in Chicago or to a boat tour or whatever. This is the places where you learn English. And then you will see, because sometimes it's like up and down. This is how you learn the language. But in the end of the day, you will see yourself and say, oh my God, I did this. I learned the language. And this is what I can say when people ask me, even when they ask me from Germany, is it good to do this? Is it good to study there? Is it good to move there? And I say, if you want to do it, yes, it is good. But of course, you need... You have to be also strength to do it, because it's not easy to move to another country.
And that's an important point, because everybody has to realize that it's not just, I'm going to move there, everything's going to be, sweet. There are challenges, and we all have different challenges that we have to face. And I know for you, you have a son as well, correct? And you moved here with your son. How was that like?
Yes, I moved here with him. When I moved here, he was 5 years old. He actually never went to a school in Germany. He just went to the kindergarten because our system is different. But he is like, in the beginning, he was like, oh, I cannot understand the kids on the playground. And I told him, just listen to them, you will understand. And it works. It's like, he's now in school here for 3 years. So he starts his with the fourth grade in 2 weeks. And he is totally happy. For him, it's probably kind of adventure, but for him now, his half life, he lived in Germany and the other half here. So he is pretty young, and even when we talk at home German, because I think it's important that he learn it, because it's such a hard language to learn, he is totally happy. And for him, it's like when he realized that we moved in the beginning, he thought he will lost his friends back in Germany. And I said, no, you're not losing someone, you get new friends. And this is how it is. And it's a big thing, because I know that my family sometimes said, why are you doing this? Because why you moved to another country and it's hard for the child. I say, no, because for him, in the end of the day, it will be really good for him that he has an experience to live in different countries, and nobody can ever take it away from him.
And so I'm assuming he's been able to adapt quite well to the U.S. culture and to the school system. I have two kids. One is going to 8th grade. One is going to 6th grade. And I was actually with them yesterday. And I grew up playing soccer, as I mentioned, and my kids are into it as well. And we were playing yesterday, and I like to teach them how to play properly, or at least how I learned, as opposed to a lot of times, and this is my personal opinion, it has to, a lot of times, unfortunately, coaches don't teach the correct techniques as far as how I see it. So when I take that opportunity to teach them, my son goes yesterday, oh, great, here we go again, another history lesson on how to play soccer. It's so funny to see them grow up and to see how witty they are, and to see them develop. So what advice would you have to someone who's thinking about moving and has kids? What would you tell someone about your experience?
I think, first of all, I would tell, because I know that people who have kids maybe kind of afraid to do this step because they think they do something. They take the kids from the environment, from the comfort zone. But kids are really, they adapt things much more faster than adults. So for the kid, it's not a problem. We, the adults, always have to think, oh, in my home country it's like this and this. But the kids just adopt everything in a playful way. So I would say, if you really want to do it, you can do it, and it's possible. It's like, because a lot of people for sure came here when they are 20, 25, after they went to the university in the home countries, but every life is different. And just because you are over 30 and you have kids, it's not meant to be, it's too late for it. So, or you don't have, it's more challenging for you. It's challenging for everybody. But as a mother, I think you think also for the future and what is good for your kid, and just that the kid has this experience and visit different schools, different school systems, and a different language. We should never forget this, because even when you decide to go back after a couple of years, your child always will have this experience, and so as you, but also the language, because the kid's learning so fast. He is much more better in English than I do. So he's like a native speaker. And this is really great to see. So for him, he can go in Germany to school, he can go in the US, and probably also in other countries, because English is really worth to learn it, because you can communicate almost with everybody around the world, because everybody speaks at least a little bit English.
Right. So now you've had the opportunity to work here at MCC. You're studying. What is your goal once you're done, either with MCC, to stay with MCC, to move on to other opportunities? What are you looking for the future?
For the future, I think I would like to stay permanently in the US, definitely, and I would like to stay with MCC, and we have to see after my association program, when I make the degree, and then I can work for 1 year in the OPT. So my goal for now is to stay here and really to work full time, and this is my personal and my professional goal for now.
That's wonderful. So as we wrap up, it's been wonderful to have a conversation with you and learn a little bit about who you are and what you do here at MCC. And I know, there are always challenges on a daily basis for what we do. Some of the things that you do here is also you give tours, correct, to prospective students or students that are starting. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. So I had the idea that when the students come to MCC or to Chicago, it's every term it's different. Some students already live a couple of years here or a month, and they change the school. They decided to change, or people, they just come a week ago from abroad. And I think it's a good thing to get into the community, in the international community, and meet the other new students. So I decided to make a campus tour, and a tour right around what's around the campus, because our campus is directly in downtown Chicago and you can see a lot. And so I give them some really important, good to know points around our campus, for especially for students they are totally new. And so also they can come together before the class starts. So they already know, okay, she is new, he is new. So we come together in this new experience.
How has that been received by the students? Does that seem to be a positive experience for the students?
Yes, definitely. So this is the feedback what I got. They're really thankful for it, that I'm doing it. Because when I talk to the student, in my case, it's even when I work for MCC, I'm still an international student. And for the new students, especially, it's like, okay, she is a person, she is a student like us. So they talk a lot and asking for advice or what they can do. And so it's really on the base that we are students and that we can help out each other, or how it is, or where you can go to make your driver license or whatever. So really helpful tips for the students. So I just get positive feedback.
Wonderful. Thank you for everything you do, and thank you for sharing your experiences with me and with us on this podcast today. Really looking forward to working with you for many more years to come. So as we wrap up, I want to thank you for taking that time. I want to thank everyone for listening to us today, and I hope we have been able to provide you with some helpful information. I'd like to thank our guest again for being here, and don't forget to write us at podcast@mcccollege.edu, and we'll look forward to talking to you next time.